All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the South Star Classroom. It's been a couple of weeks as we've
It's been
taken
a
our,
while.
our, our annual winter break where we step away from the podcast. But we are back with the vengeance, right?
Yeah, hell
We
yeah, the
mad. We mad.
vengeance,
We
man.
big mad. We
That's
big
right.
mad.
Yeah, the South Star Classroom 2.0, the revenge.
Revenge.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we've been gone for a couple of weeks. Today we're going to be talking about some current events. It's kind of hard not to address the big elephant in the room, but we'll get into that in a second.
Hey,
Wanted to,
what's the elephant? I don't know.
yeah, there's no elephant.
It's so much
Just-
stuff
just
happening. I don't know what the elephant is.
Wait, I got an elephant in the room?
Yeah.
Don't be calling me no elephant, man. I may have had
I'm like, what else did I miss?
I may have overeaten a bit
I mean,
over the
Yeah.
holidays, but damn.
Yeah. So let's talk about the
an
holidays. How was your break? Just any big takeaways? How are you feeling? Anything that you did that was like spectacular, or do you just sit at home and just kind of like lounge? What's the deal?
I did both. I lounged. I don't actually use alarm clocks, right? So I just kind of go to sleep and then God wakes me up the next day and then we just get started with the party. So but I still have this awareness that like I probably should be getting up now. But over the past 2 weeks, didn't matter because I didn't have to go anywhere. So I did some lounging and all of that, all the things I love to do. And I went to see my family in Brooklyn. My siblings were leads in this musical at St. John's University. And I got to see them live and direct, singing their hearts out. It was fantastic. So I had the best of both worlds this break. So happy New Year.
Yeah, your hair looks great. Your camera
Thank
looks
you.
great.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm an official glasses wearer
Glasses.
now.
Yeah. You
I
got a
just-
whole new thing going on.
I like it.
Yeah.
I just want to know, does anybody study for their eye test? Because I was studying for my eye
You
test.
said study for your eye test?
That's what I said. Yes, I went online. I was like, it's going to be one of these things, and I just need, the overachiever me needs to pass, and so I
think the overachiever needs to see.
Right, but I will say, I mean, I didn't pass that like I did in years past, but I had 25/20 in one eyeball and 20/30 in one eyeball, which they say is not that bad. I was gunning for 20/20, 20/10 even if I could, but
Wait, hold
Welcome
on. You were
back,
going to
Crystal.
cheat on your eye exam?
Now you're using the language that my family used, which is it's a tad bit offensive because I told them it was not cheating, it was preparation. We really said preparation. It's gonna be one of these tests. When my mom pops in, she can verify. She also said I was cheating, and I didn't really appreciate that.
Man,
I was
I got some preparation.
Welcome back, Bill.
H. I got
Yes, welcome, Bill and Crystal, who hasn't seen us in over a year. Thank you, Crystal. Welcome back.
Bill. Welcome.
It's because I came back to Facebook. I guess when I left Facebook, I left an audience. I'm sorry. I'm back.
All right. Charles and or Omar.
Omar.
Let
Let me get out the way because Omar's is gonna be like wholesome.
gonna cook.
His is gonna be wholesome. I got to sleep. I was coming off of travel. I just wanted to rest. I did not want to have to be bothered with anything or anybody for the holidays, but I did have family came a few days after the holidays. So like the second and third. I watched Nuremberg, which was that was a good movie. I watched a lot of movies, but Nuremberg is probably relevant to today's topic. But it's interesting that I'd watched that and then all this stuff had happened. But yeah, I had a decent time. That's all for me. What about you, O?
I'll check that out, man. There was a lot going on over the holidays, a lot. So my sister and brother-in-law have bought in a condo in Telluride. So Telluride, Colorado, Southern Colorado, got to go down there. Interestingly enough, they're on strike. So another fascinating topic, the ski patrol is on strike, essentially arguing for a living wage with the owner of the ski resort. And I mean, this is just the capitalist times we live in. everyone's pissed off because what they found out was that in one day, literally one day of profits from opening up the ski resort would pay for the multi-year increase in wages for the entirety of that staff, meaning not just 1 year, the several, like the 3-5 years that they were bargaining for, one day of profits, and this guy's still holding out. Just that was fascinating because we got to be on the streets and saw them protesting and striking, not something that one sees every single day, particularly for a small community.
Did they have their strike signs attached to ski poles? Were they doing that?
You know, I wish that was the case. They were holding up some big ass banners so that the whole town could see. And mostly the town is behind it. It's not an unnecessary or not an unnecessary like a stringent request. Sadly, my first little puppy, my little Babar, passed away on the 26th. Yeah, man. Very sad about that. He like lived at EPLA. There's so many photos of him at the school. He would run into all the classrooms and say hi to the kids. The kids would love him. It was just normal. Like kids would come to school and be like, "Oh, hey, Babar," and then continue working. It was just that normal of a situation that Babar was there. And when my dad passed away, Babar went and was permanently with my mom. So that was really tough. And my mom's
sorry, Omar,
going through a lot. Yeah, I appreciate that immensely, man. Like I know pets are one thing for me. I just have like a ludicrous adoration of dogs. Always have, don't know what it is. And he was my very first dog, my very first pet ever at a old age. We didn't grow up with pets. So he was our first. He was the family's first, in fact.
How old was he?
He was 11. Little miniature schnauzer, had some heart issues. He lived a good life and he had a beautiful, beautiful last day. It was Christmas Day. He got to hang out with everyone who loved him, all of his cousins, his brother, eat all the good food. He had a beautiful last day and he didn't suffer. But other than that, man, I watched some movies. There was some sleep to be had. I watched the John Candy documentary. That was excellent. If you're
I'm going to check it out.
A comedy enthusiast or someone who like studies comedy like I do, that was excellent. The Chevy Chase one was really interesting as well. I saw that one on CNN. That was actually really good. Watched some series on NBC that like talked about the CIA. I think it was called the Copenhagen Test.
I'm watching. I'm on like the 3rd episode right now.
Yeah, it ain't bad.
It ain't
bad. Yeah, I like that dude, man. I like that dude a lot. Color commentary coming from my sister and my brother-in-law. They're like, man, this chick is way too hot for this dorky dude. I was like,
y'all are funny.
Probably gave me hope. I'm a dorky, nerdy guy. I was like, man, maybe one day. But other than that, there's a lot going on right now in my life, but we'll talk about that offline.
All right. Yeah, we had a pretty slow holiday, mainly stuck around the house, local, had some family coming to town. Got to DJ a New Year's Eve party. It's been a long time.
Oh, right on, dude. That's awesome.
What's the DJ name now?
It's just my name now. It's my name now. But I got to DJ alongside one of the 2 DJs that taught me how to DJ, like in the late 80s, early 1990s. We've been friends since then. And he's a hip hop DJ. So he did all the hip hop and I did like all the funk and R&B and soul and disco. And it was pretty cool because we held it at a friend's house that we all kind of grew up in and around in our neighborhood. And so it was like definitely like an old school kind of vibe and event. So it was very, very cool. What else? We held, interesting thing for like, you all are educators and sometimes these breaks can be hard for for some young people whose parents are like working and these kids are like stuck at home, right? You know, and it can be challenging for them. So we decided to hold a kind of a winter party at our home for the kids in the band program in my son's school. We're like only kids, no parents. You know, they watched movies, they played around, they went in the pool, they went in the hot tub. They just had a fun time for like 4 hours, right? And it was like probably had about 15 to 20 kids here. And it was really cool. I mean, we didn't have to intervene once. They all kind of like managed their own behavior and dynamics. But you know, some of the kids, you know, told us as we were ending the night, you know, she's like, one of the girls was like, thank you so much for the invite. And we had to go pick her up because she couldn't get a ride. So we picked her up. She says, I've been at home for like the whole first week and just like doom scrolling. And, you know, like, it's really good to get out and like connect with my people, you know? And so, so there was that learning. And then one of the other kids was really cute. He comes from a particular background, kind of more conservative. I was like, hey, did you have fun? And he says, well, yeah, this is my first ever party that I've gone to as a person. I was like, all right, dude, there you go. You know? So just, you know, it felt good to like open up the house to the young people just so they could kind of like just interact with one another, you know, and be kids, yeah. Man.
It's important.
What else happened? Spent about half of the day today on the phone with Verizon. I had to go for a run and lift weights before this because I felt like I was going to rip somebody's head off. So I feel better now. It's unbelievable. I won't even go into it. It's unbelievable. I'm yelling at people. I'm like, I don't care where you're at, man. I'm gonna come to India right now, you know. Just out of control, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So we have to fix that big system. It's such a big corporation, and
they fear no man.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But anyways, that's over with. Shall we get into the topic?
Yes.
All right. We are ready. Okay. So, you know, as Omar and others have spoken about, there's been a lot going on, like in the news, obviously. And we wanted to kind of bring some current events with a particular like angle for us all, to talk about what's happening in Venezuela currently. And it's obviously a breaking story. There's like new stuff every day. But I wanted to talk about like what's happening there, hear your takes on it. Wanted to talk for a minute also about like, think about it from the perspective of, you know, even like a middle school or a high school educator, talking about like, what does international law say about these things? What does U.S. law and the Constitution say about these things? And then talk about some of the fallout around what's happened. And also, if we can get to it, some of the other historical examples where, you know, the U.S. has gone in and essentially, you know, taken out a leader and how that's worked out. Because I'll give you a spoiler alert. It doesn't normally work out well.
Dude, we've done it a bazillion times. And
It's never worked out well.
Never gone well,
Yeah.
Dude.
It's crazy.
I've got a personal experience with one of those.
Yeah, would love to hear it. Yeah. So so we all have been watching news, and we know that the president of Venezuela, Maduro, and his wife, Celia Flores, they're captured and or kidnapped. I don't know, depends on who you ask, in a U.S. operation just a couple of days ago. Like literally, like our military went in and like, you know, pulled these people out of their home at night. Apparently he was wearing one of those Nike tech suits, Charles.
Yes, he was in a Nike Tech. What a callback.
Tying it back, right?
Good job, producer.
Yeah. And so, and they were flown, you know, they were taken to a ship and then flown out. And they're in New York now, apparently in the same jail in New York where Epstein was, where El Chapo is, where what's the guy from the guy that killed the medical executive?
Oh yeah, Luigi.
Where,
Luigi
Luigi.
Mangione,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
Mangione.
Mangione.
And
Yep.
and now
Mangione.
apparently it is where Tekashi 6ix9ine will be living for the next 3 months. So
Venezuela or
yeah.
in
No,
you saw New York.
at that prison in New
Oh
York.
yeah, the spot in New York. Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think
so that
Maduro, when he got captured, what was the reward? The American reward was what, $50 million or something like that.
I don't know. It's crazy. So he was picked up on. He and his wife were captured based on an indictment, right? Based on I think narco terrorism, so like drug related issues. I mean, that's kind of what we know. I don't know. There's probably U.S. CIA, who knows who else on the ground there, but apparently the country's still being run by like their current government. So I don't know if we plan on actually going and like doing the whole thing. But and the motivations, you could say like, I don't know, it was about drugs. I don't know how much fentanyl is coming from Venezuela. Maybe some. But I also do know, and I put this in the notes, that there was Trump recently pardoned former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who had been convicted in the U.S. court on drug trafficking charges. So like, there's all these like, well, you're doing this with this guy, but then you pardon this guy. So like, what's really going on here? But let's try and stick to the facts. I want to, before we dive into the legal issues, I would love to hear your quick take on like what you've heard on this situation. What are your like just quick off the top of the head? We're not supposed to do hot takes, but I want to hear your hot takes.
Ladies first, then. Right or refusal, Jude. I mean, I see you said something profound. You muted though. I'm sure you said the greatest shit you've ever said in the world.
I just said that my mom called me and she was pissed off and she was like, they kidnapped the people from Venezuela. You didn't watch the news. I think I was like sweeping up Christmas ornaments from the floor or trying to take them out of Meadow's mouth or something. So that was like then I had to go down the rabbit hole and see what she was very pissed off. And the fact that it, cut travel off in a lot of other regions because of what was going on in Venezuela. But I'll pass it.
Okay. Well, I'll get out the way. I'll clear the deck. Definitely was interested when we got this as a topic. Obviously, Chicago's been in the news because of a lot of Venezuelans are here. And there's been a mix. There was a protest both for kind of the aggression of like international law. And this is where you got to hold two things at once. And there were very, very happy Venezuelans celebrating in the streets. And so I saw that. I go and do work in downtown a lot, like at one of the little spots that I go to. And I was like, oh, we got this episode. So I was asking some people, I saw them, and 7 million people have fled Venezuela at the same time. I know he had like a $50 million bounty on his head. I know there was torture and things like that. So I guess for the episode, my question to you, as always, David, as your annoying pupil, which part do we want to focus on, right? Are we focusing on the illegality of it, and the Trumpiness of it, and like what precedent we're setting, and the Nuremberg comparisons, even though all that happened, the world was on the United States side and joined in, but it was an uphill battle. Or this dictator who was on the opposite political side of Pinochet, but has some very similar feelings towards him from the people there that have left or fled or been tortured or things like that. So, I'm humble and like I understand, like, you know what I'm saying? Like Trump is, you don't want to give him any credit for things because any of that he'll blow up and he'll use and he'll do certain things. We know that oil plays a huge role in this. And there are a lot of Venezuelan people that are talking about being able to go home now or see people or go back. So it's a complicated issue. It's an adult issue, and I'm glad you picked it as a topic, David.
Yep. So all those things can be true at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yes, you're correct. Omar, what's your hot take before we jump in?
Dude, I thought Doc knocked it out of the park. I think my hot take is this going to be an excuse for the Trump administration to use ICE and pick up every Venezuelan and,
Right.
forcefully
It's
send them back to and my initial reaction was like oil. Like all of us have studied history. We're all humongous political scholars, and we can talk about oil left and right, dude. From installing the Shah or the president of Iran, and then that whole tumultuous situation with Iran, and Ayatollah Khomeini coming into power back in like the 70s. That was United States involved when we were there. And why were we there? Oil. Bush 1, oil. Bush 2, oil. So it confounds me because you'll see a lot of comments on the internet about, well, the United States is the greater exporter of oil. Why do we need this? And I'm like, man, like, cool, read a book. The amount of oil in Venezuela is surpassing the amount of oil in the Middle East combined. Not to mention that Venezuela also has an insane amount of natural resources.
Yep.
So when you own that, you own the market. When you own such things, the dollar remains and still becomes the currency that the world uses. Because as the world has tried to drift away from the dollar into using, say, the euro, guess who tried to do that? Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein tried to move the oil. Yep. And then we all see what happens. So my hot take is like, God dang, man, this is like Team America, World Police, and I'm very worried about the Venezuelans here in the United States and what is going to become of that, whether voluntarily or, I think, quite involuntarily.
Mr. Trump, Donald Trump made some pretty disparaging comments today. I'm trying to look for them, but I'll find them before the episode's over, about Venezuelan people in general being like nasty and dirty, something like that. So he's going in on the people of Venezuela.
I am like the proud recipient of being the dirtiest human being. I'm an Arab. I'm a Mexican. My parents are immigrants.
You are the worst. Yeah,
you are about 9 different races. You definitely are about. Wherever we go in the country outside of like Africa, we good. I'm taking you with me. You are racially ambiguous. And just for the record, too. Again, my question was just more so. I just want to know where you need me to lean, right? Like if we're talking,
No, okay, let's
because my thing is this: like Trump, like again, internet. You don't. This is terrible international precedent. So again, if somebody does this to us. There's a bomb coming. Like I'm just letting you know. Like,
well, exactly. So let's get into it. So there is such a thing, a body that is known as the United Nations, right? And the United Nations has a charter with, I guess you could argue binding or like quasi binding provisions in it, laws. I don't know what they actually call them. They're probably like I don't know. It's like it's whatever's in the UN charter. So what we didn't talk about at the beginning of the show was in the operation to go in and I'll be technical about this, extract Maduro and his wife. I think upwards, it depends on who you ask, upwards of like 50 to like 80 people were killed, right? It wasn't just like this clean thing. They went in, they bombed like security officials. They bombed some other like strategic symbolic targets too. We won't get into, which is kind of weird. But people died. People lost their lives. Innocent people lost their lives. And so let's look at the United Nations Charter. Says the use of force against another country, territory, or political independence is prohibited when acting in is prohibited except when acting in self-defense after an armed attack, or when it is authorized and sanctioned by the UN Security Council. So that's what the law, that's what the UN Charter says, right? And I'm just thinking about like how do you help like young people if you're teaching them make sense of this, right? Like it's pretty clear that the Venezuela has not attacked the United States. There was no UN authorization, right? So the issue of the indictment is really what we're talking about, and there's nothing in the provisions of the UN Charter that says just because you could, anybody can drop an indictment is a legal document somebody cranks out. It's like, it's not even. I don't even think it's a grand jury indictment. It's just like here's an indictment. Let's go get Dr. Charles Cole. And so I mean I don't know. Pretty clear violation of the UN Charter. What do you all say about that piece?
I mean, yeah, it's absolutely it absolutely steps on the UN. And here's the thing: UN needs a fucking army. Listen, man, like we are the enforcers of the UN. So I mean, listen, I, as somebody who is Black and cares about affairs that happen in Africa and watched the Rwanda genocide, and it's the genocide happening right now, like, and the UN will say, and they will slap you with the morality of it, but they ain't stopping the warlords. So I think that we need the UN. I am a person that believes that. I am somebody who honors the UN, but I do think that the UN also needs some type of wing that can enforce what it wants. And the United States feels a lot of these ways. And if you're the president, Democrat or Republican, you kind of be feeling like you can do what you want because you are
they don't do shit.
The power. And you're the one that when the UN got that problem, they asking you, hey, we need your help to go fix this. And then other nations join in. So that might not always be the case. I don't know where, our standing has kind of been up and down in the UN, but so those are my unfinished thoughts on the UN. These systems only work to the degree in which we buy into them. If we shit on it and we don't, and you let these atrocities kind of run amok, then you start knocking on the door of like world wars, and the next world war will be very, very different than the last two. So those are my thoughts. True. I'm trying to be succinct in 2026.
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to be succinct?
We don't need it, but especially when David hosts, he does such a good job of putting it together. We're like his children during this time. Like it's like a weekend. It's like a weekend at Porky situation, man. So David, for you, brother, I'm gonna be better for you.
Porky,
but only when you're hosting, David. There you go. That's my OG, man. I can't disrespect David. He's my UN.
I want to hear your unfettered opinion. That's what we're trying to get into here.
Oh yes.
Omar or Jubilee. Yeah. What do you have to say?
I'll jump in real quick, man, and just be like, look, dude, like my first thought was, who is going to do anything about this? And that's worrisome, right? That was my very first question. So everyone's like, this is insane. Someone's got to do something. And I'm like, who's somebody? Like NATO? Like NATO's got a bit of an army, but like the North Atlantic Treaty Organization ain't going to do shit, particularly because like A, they're not, but B, they have no jurisdiction in South America for the most part. Okay, so that falls into the UN. The UN, the top five, right? UK, Russia, China, the United States, India. Bro, the United States is the enforcement arm of the UN. So exactly like Doc said, I was like, well, who the hell is going to do something? The UN. I was like, bro, that's us. So you have an unmitigated power with the world's largest military industrial complex that one has ever seen. So you all have seen all of those fun charts. It's like a bar chart. And what they do is they look at the amount of money spent per country on the military, right? And the closest to us is Russia, but Russia's here and the United States is like up here. Excuse me, China, right? Russia, China. Right. Now, if you take all of these militaries, the UK, France, Portugal, Libya, Russia, China, combine them all, they're not even close to the equivalent of the United States' money spent on military and the military arm of the United States. We have become essentially, as South Park said, like world police. So if the world police is doing nefarious things around the world, there is very little anyone can do in terms of enforcement. And I'm just like, shit, like, what is the end to this?
Mhm.
So as we go on hot takes, I'm like, I am a bit stumped. And hopefully you all can provide a hell of a lot more clarity. Because I was talking about this with my brother and sister-in-law. I was like, shit, I can't wait for the show when we do this. I gotta hear the hot takes from y'all.
Are they in here? I haven't seen their comments, but hey, we love it. Tell them to keep it coming. Who is your sister and brother? Let's lift them up.
Yeah, sure.
And we got some new people and some old favorites. So Crystal has been rocking with me long before I even before I built this. It's so good to see you back here, Crystal. Bill, always super supportive.
Oh yeah, Bill.
Can't post all your comments, but we got you, Bill. We love you, Bill. And actually, Bill is not far from me. I should probably meet her for coffee at some point. We got Nikki in, who's been, I think, with me around since I had my radio show like years ago. She's seen me grow up.
That's awesome.
So we got and we got Toya in here. Toya is undoubtedly hands down one of my favorite people in the world. So and I'm sure we'll have Jubes. Now we need Jubilee's mama to pop up. Just for the people, I deal with Jubilee because of her mama and her family. Those are the stars. So we would love for them to make their appearance.
Really?
And they tend to side with me more than their daughter. So there you go. Just
Wow.
had to do some crowd management.
My mom
David.
loves everyone on this podcast. Not necessarily more than me, but
You ain't got to say all that. I'm her favorite. You ain't got to try to make people feel better.
Okay.
Jubilee, what are your thoughts on this? Potential violation of international law.
It's just, my first thought was kind of similar to Omar's, like, who's on the freaking wall? You know that movie?
Yeah.
What's the movie? You need me on that wall. You want me on that wall? Like, who's
A Few Good Men, man.
A Few Good Men. Okay, all right. But like, I don't think this was so surprising. So I said my mom was like pissed off, but when I clicked on the news and watched it, I wasn't surprised, because to me, it's mirroring what's already been practiced at home. Like, it's like a damn anarchy, right? It's just like there's no checks and balances, right? Like, and I think that Trump has been practicing and using our homeland as the foreground and a preparatory tool for what he's now doing abroad. Notice he didn't do this a month into his administration, just warm the people up, right? Help the people get used to being silent. Help the people no longer really, think that they can push back, right? Unleash ICE, try to dismantle this and dismantle that, and then go abroad and try to, enact the things that he believes should happen there. And so that was my first initial thought, like, who's standing on the wall, and that the authoritarian behavior that's abroad, it really mirrors the authoritarian behavior that we're experiencing at home. So I'm not surprised if checks and balances, they're ignored at home, and of course they're ignored abroad, right? And who will stand up and say something? Everybody's looking around, to your point. It's like,
they do. That's like that Spider-Man meme. They're like pointing.
Yeah, they're all pointing at each other.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, these things don't just collapse overnight, right? It erodes because institutions, their backbones disappear, right? And we have seen spinelessness. We have seen people literally not vote right. Like, whatever is right, on being on the side of right? They vote the opposite. They say nothing. They allow this man to get up there and do all the things, and don't provide any level of resistance, And so I think people say, well, people are afraid or whatever the case may be, but silence, it's not neutral. You make a claim when you're silent. It's a decision that people are making to be silent, to not push back. And therefore the power is being enacted, and it's being enacted against the least of them, or those that are not able to, fight for themselves.
Yep.
So I think
go ahead.
I mean, I didn't include this in the notes, but if we look at like one of the most powerful tools that the U.S. has to exercise against, countries or regimes that we are challenged by, or we're trying to like modify their behavior, it's sanctions, right? And so there are already sanctions in place against Venezuela that are just essentially like hurting the people. That's what happens in these situations. There are sanctions in place against Cuba, which essentially are just hurting the people. They're not hurting the government, maybe impacting the legitimacy of those governments, but this whole concept of the sanction, I think, makes people feel good, but in the end, what it ends up doing is just hurting common people, right? People that have already lacked resources, and then you apply these sanctions, and people just have a harder time like surviving. I mean, not even like living. Just talking about surviving. So yeah.
I was wondering,
and that was
like,
already in place there.
If the UN would put sanctions on us.
I mean, they can try. Look, so
exactly the point, right?
Yeah.
And then don't we have like full veto power over that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can try. I mean, Dave Chappelle had a skit when he did Black Bush, and he was like, "Oh, sanction me. Oh, that's right. You can't enforce it. I mean, So one of the things that this, and don't lose your place, because y'all know me and O are like these. Everybody here likes politics, but we just mentioned the show that is a political thriller that normal people are not gonna like. We shouldn't even have told them that show, Omar. So we have to know it's gonna be boring as shit to other people, right? Like, they don't like care about CIA. So let me just put this out there. I think one of the things is, I think average people should get a little more brushed up on international happenings and what's going on. Because what I have been hearing, and we go on and listen to the fodder, it's like, well, nothing like this ever happened. Only Trump would disrespect the UN and things like that. Every president, especially us as Democrats, 2011, the Libya intervention, we went against NATO and went into Libya and got and did what we did. NATO bombing of Yugoslavia in 1999. The support for Israel and Gaza that the United States did went against what the UN said needed to do when that first happened, and the Rwanda genocide, right? Clinton got annoyed because the UN wouldn't take action and break up the genocide. And so he went in and basically tried to do what just happened here. It's like, well, we'll go in and we'll get the cat. So I think here's the thing. I don't like Trump. Nobody here likes Trump. And so let's dump on that. Let's get that. That's why I was like, I can talk about him, and I will. I got a whole piece on that dude and what he's doing. And I don't think this just happens. I do think there's intel that gets there. But also, when we get really offended about this thing and act like we've been offended about breaking UN stuff for a long time, it's like, well, you haven't been reading Reuters or the BBC, right? Like,
Thank
the
you.
BBC,
I was about to say, what are some
the
really
BBC
good
is
sources
just like the
for
United
our
States
audience?
are at it again, doing whatever they want to do.
The UN reminds me of, and maybe this is just particular to a California thing, Charles, so you can relate to this. It reminds me of like the county offices of education.
Absolutely.
These big bureaucratic organizations that in the end, they have no power and they don't do shit. They're very polite and they meet and they have their like rituals and their things. And but at the end of the day, like, they really don't do anything.
And the power they did have, they got stripped of it. Remember, because if David's school got rejected by Oakland, he could then go to the county. They lost that 3 years ago or whatever, like a while ago.
I mean, so let me ask you this, and then we can move on. So New York has a new mayor now.
Yes, he does.
Sworn in on January 1.
And he's I'm wondering, right?
Well, I'm wondering if he's going to take any action now to like try and extradite Maduro and his wife from this jail, and send them back. I don't know. Does he have any power as the mayor of New York City, or I guess the federal?
Yes.
Because it boils down to like, who the hell is going to enforce it when you got the.
He said he would have Netanyahu arrested if he showed up at the UN.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
When he was
that he could do, because like if you are in charge of New York City police, great. But then it just all comes down to like, then how does the American military get involved? How does Trump get involved?
Yeah,
How do
yeah.
pardons
Yeah,
get
crazy.
involved?
Yeah.
And you have this like kind of overriding situation where you start playing the chess game in your head. You're like, oh, this person's going to do this and this person gets to do this. Well, all right, like, then what? The checkmate is always going to end in this situation where, and I want to be clear for a couple things, two things for our audience that I'm going to move aside. One, it is hard to find good international news. Really hard. I like 3 spots. I love Al Jazeera. Granted, I'm also Lebanese, so I care.
I like Al Jazeera too.
About, I love the BBC. BBC is going to give you some like real insane shit. And my man Doc already talked about. It's pronounced Reuters. REU.
I always say routers, but it might be routers. I've heard it a few different. I just say routers.
Wow. And like, if you
REUTERS.
some really insane shit, start looking at Vice, because Vice will go into some high level investigative journalism, in-depth reporting. They just did an insane article on what's going on in Los Angeles with these like Gen Z goths. That's a totally different story.
Oh, I saw that. I saw
Stay
that.
away
Not
from
appropriate.
right now. Yes, correct. Not appropriate for the show right now. That's one. Those are really good places just to do a deep dive into news that we're not regularly seeing here in the United States, that follows what I would say a very interesting and introspective look at what's going on internationally. And I would arguably say is like objectively, it's an oxymoron, objectively critical, can't be both, but critical in the sense that we don't see that level of critique in the United States. The second thing that I would quickly mention is, once you've looked at all of that news and seen what it is that we're doing here in the United States, one needs to understand that, yes, while Trump is the puppet that is allowing this stuff, because he doesn't know any of these things. He doesn't, frankly, sadly, doesn't care about much of these things. People are like, this guy's like, he hates war and he's an enforcer for peace and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I've never met the man, but I do know who's behind his thoughts, behind his theories, behind his actions. And this is the same group that have been dying to get someone like Trump in office since Nixon. You know, this is your like Roger Stones of the world. And look at what their strategies are and their battle plans, because this has been written for decades, ladies and gentlemen. Since Nixon, the idea has been, how do we completely dominate world markets, completely dominate world police, completely dominate, become the authoritarian country that no one will mess with? Because this Venezuela thing isn't just about oil dominance and resource dominance. It is a demonstration of like, what is anyone going to do? And I think that this is going to be a very like curious time to see what are the world's reactions. But I'm still at a stalemate of like, what is anyone going to do about it? And not in a positive way. I'd love our audience to be like, man, I got some ideas. I'm talking like, as a student, I could use the word ignorant is a good word for me right now. I don't know what the hell the world is going to do or anyone can do about this. So those two things, ladies and gentlemen, who's pulling the strings and where you're going to get some good ass news.
And they're talking, I mean, they're talking already. I mean, you've seen it. Greenland is back on the table. You know that
fucking Greenland, dude. Really? Jesus.
Yes, dude. Yes.
Dang,
they're back
dude.
on the table.
Why do we want to conquer?
Because it's land,
man. Why can't we
because it's land and it comes with resources, and you get to say,
I know.
We're imperialists.
I personally think the next domino to fall might be Cuba, right? Very vulnerable country.
Hell yeah, dude. I was wondering if you were going to say that. That was exactly the next thing I was going to say.
Vulnerable. Yeah. And so what like whatever happens in Venezuela, it's going to impact what is already an incredibly like struggling country of Cuba. People there are struggling right now. It's always been, you know, bad, but it's really bad right now if anybody's paying attention just in terms of access to food, and people's quality of life. It's really a dark time there now. And
just a quick insert on
I'm
that
worried
one.
about that.
If anyone wants to know what the United States had planned for Cuba, what they really want to do for Cuba, you don't need to look any further than watching The Godfather 2. And if you're like, what? Really? No, man. That's
a great reference.
Student of history, I
know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart.
Broke my heart, Fredo.
You broke my heart.
I'm smart, Michael. I could do things. Watch that movie. It'll tell you exactly what the United States had planned for Cuba. And I am wondering, David, now that you brought it up, I was like, shit, is that what they have? I wonder if they're going to follow through with that plan. A whole country that's Las Vegas,
we'll see.
Essentially.
We'll see.
Except with no laws.
Jubilee, you've been writing stuff down. You've been taking notes. So,
yes.
Yeah.
I got to get out of the way.
No,
Jewel got this. Go ahead, Jewel. Full screen.
Take it away.
I mean, this is the haves and the have-nots all over again.
Your hair looks beautiful. There you go. We got you.
Thank you so much. I'm just over here thinking about the double standards, the double standards in justice, right? And it's like it's pardons for the powerful, punishments for the marginalized. There was a piece that David put in the write-up that I was looking at, and I actually wanted to hear more about that because there's this guy Maduro. I was reading the indictment. It is a grand jury indictment, and they got all 11 charges on it. But there was another person that you were saying was pardoned that did the same thing. So I kind of want you to speak to that a little bit. But again, none of this is surprising. We see this here in the United States of America every single day. So it is not surprising. So can you just speak to that piece? The comparison between the leader, Maduro.
And
the other gentleman that was pardoned, but they apparently have done the same crimes.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was convicted in U.S. court on similar drug trafficking charges, who was pardoned by Trump. So I think he might even be like living in the U.S. now. I'm not sure.
Insane, right? Yeah. So it's still like two cities, two different rules for different people, right? Like it's So that's
Jubilee, say that again, because that was it's almost I gotta write it down. Like
pardons for the powerful, punishment for the marginalized.
That was really well said.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, and I like these topics, man. I feel like it's tough in an hour with 4 people, right? But I think it makes me think about for the people that don't know what Nuremberg is, after World War ended, after World War II. Yep. After homie died, after homie offed himself, his generals got collected, and a United States justice wanted to try them on not on American soil, but wanted to try them. And so there was no case law for this stuff. And this is why this is important, right? Mm-hmm. So he was fighting this uphill battle, but he got other countries to do it. And they were playing a dangerous game, right? Because if you do this trial and you utilize international and United States principles, then you have to let these people defend themselves. And they were worried about people sympathizing with these leaders, right? So saying, well, we did this to protect our stuff. And if you look at the Jews, they did this. And when they came here, they did that, right? So they had to, so there was some crooked shit that was happening, but to kind of set this morality of like the world stage so you don't get these kind of atrocities. Why is that important today? Because you got to understand, like, when we want some stuff, we would have gone into other countries and done it. And so because people asked about Mamdani has already did what Mamdani's going to do. Mamdani sent a very strong worded email to the president, right? They have clearances, right? So he's voiced his opinion. He's voiced that he doesn't like it, but he also said he's working with the administration of figuring out, right? He doesn't want New York to become a target because this international person is here in this epicenter, but New York is New York. So I'm just saying, I think, but when you don't know world history on like a basic level or understanding like the stuff that this sparks for people, it was an interesting political move by this regime that I don't like, I don't have faith in, and I don't trust. But from a political standpoint, Venezuela had 7 million people flee the country. So usually the people that was pissed off at Trump, right? These Venezuelans, these people that got put, remember, we did shows about it here in Chicago. So now you have a No Kings March happening that's saying, keep your hands off of Venezuela, but it's white people that's marching that. And now you got these Venezuelans that were on that side that's like, hey, you don't know what the fuck you talking about. Like this dude is like, it's the same way if you meet a Cuban in Florida and you ask them how they feel about it, you're like,
great.
And you're like, oh shit, like I like
exactly.
Cuba. They like, I want to go home and I can't go home. Forget that leader. So I think
we got kicked out. We got kicked out. We got kicked out. We want to go back home.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's why we play little political games. Like if you get here on a boat, if you here on a floating device out of Cuban space, we got you now. That's why I remember I was a kid with Alien Gonzalez. That's why the Alien Gonzalez thing was so huge. But as a South Star class,
did you call him Alien Gonzalez?
Elian Gonzalez.
Alien.
Let me have
Alien.
my accent.
That name
Do I
was
make fun of other people's accents?
I believe in aliens.
I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding.
That's the Kentucky in me, right? It's Chicago, Kentucky, and Oakland. So that's the Kentucky. Alien, Alien. But that's why this little boy. But that's why this little boy.
Hey, Leon.
But this is why education is important, though, right? Because 30 years ago, people had a better general idea of basic civics and basic international stuff. And it's dropping more and more and more. So this administration doesn't have to worry about those things because the general public will go with how they feel and what they vibing on. But this is why me and Omar are very, very annoying during the election, because we told you and we said to our own side, take this election seriously. This is a very pivotal election and run your best, do your best thing on it, right? Because even the Democratic leaders that's commenting on it now, they don't really know which way they want to jump in because they can't be seen supporting anything Trump does. But we have also been, our side has also been one of the loudest voices against Venezuela. So it's like, it's an interesting political play. And this is why what you don't know can hurt you, and it can hurt in the precedent that you allow to be set. What are we running on our bench in the next election? How are we getting them ready right now? What do the midterms look like? That's how the impact that the listeners here have. But you all listening, go get informed and read these facts. Take make sure you know the things that you're thinking about, and then I would say you can react in the way that you need to react. That's my that's my last piece.
We've got 6 minutes left, and I want to say a couple things, and then offer a last question for closing thoughts. So what we know is what happened in Panama in 1989 with Noriega.
Yep.
What we know is what happened in 2004 in Haiti with Aristide, and then the multiple attempts to overturn leadership in Cuba, starting with like probably 1961 Bay of Pigs, going back.
Did you mention Pinochet in there too?
I mean, there are more. There are numerous. Yeah, this is like a very like condensed list. So, and with
Chile.
many of these, like things did not, end up being better for people, right? It caused more instability. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Venezuela. The leadership is that's currently there is still attached to the current, regime, Maduro regime. I think they're going to trial sometime pretty soon in New York. We'll have to follow that. You have leaders, the Colombian president, you should watch him if you're curious to see how local leadership in the region are responding. I don't know enough about him, but I like what he's saying. But that's another rabbit hole. We can go down that later. My question to you all is, so we've just had 55 minutes of dialogue on this, and maybe we've gotten somewhere, maybe we haven't. It's a very crazy topic. It's happening right now. So question for you, closing thoughts is, with such fast moving and high stakes news, how can educators help students understand this?
Yeah, I'll take it and then wrap it into my closing thoughts. Teaching civic responsibility, this is like a non-negotiable. And we have the ball in our courts to be able to scream it from the mountaintops to the people that we interface with, to the people that we coach and lead, that this is not optional. And I know it's not going to solve the issues that we're currently facing in this moment, but there'll be more issues as long as history continues to be created. And at least we can have a generation that is walking through it eyes wide open. So I think teaching about power, and I don't think it's only up to history teachers. I think that's actually a shift that we likely need to make in the education landscape. That's like when we started to shift for reading instruction. And then you have music teachers needing to infuse vocabulary. It's like, I'm not no reading teacher. I'm like, but you are.
Yeah, everybody is.
I'm not
I love
asking
that.
you
I
to
love
like
that.
sit
Yeah.
and teach phonics and stuff like that, but to infuse the language in what you do, right? Because then it increases the chance that this scholar will pick that up, right? And I think it's the same thing with civic responsibility. Like, I think too often, and we had an episode about it, I think at some point last year, where like this idea that that we're citizens and that these things are not just happening to us, that we are responsible for being aware and informing the change that we want to see happen. I think it gets pushed to the back burner and not widely shared enough to where we have this collective response and responsibility to teaching it. Right. Otherwise, we continue to find ourselves, in the same place. I think civics education is a form of protection. Like, you can't defend what you don't understand and what you don't know. And I think our young people are vulnerable to misinformation. Social media, we know that everybody's going on there, but it's the social media narratives that may not be based in facts and truth, or without any sort of historical grounding. So I think it's a long way to say we've got to keep at making sure that our young people understand their civic duties, responsibilities, understand their rights. And my final thought is this. I worked at the World Trade Center for some years. I got an internship when I was in high school, and I worked at Tower 2 on the 93rd floor. And then in 2001, I was in college, so I completed my summer job, and then I went back to school on August 11th. And September 11th happened 1 month after I returned to school, and I lost a lot of coworkers in that building. And one of the terms that we always say connected to that is never forget. That day, that time reminded us as a nation that no matter how powerful we think we are, how invincible we think we are, we still have a measure of vulnerability. And when we go over to these countries and we snatch these people, right, and we think that there is no sort of retribution, I think we're sadly mistaken. Now, I'm not saying, gloom and doom. All I'm saying is we've always got to watch our back. And I think we should be careful as a nation what kind of international things that we engage in, because we are putting our nation at risk. And you have this man and his wife sitting here, right? We are at risk. We might be a superpower, whatever the rest of the world considers us to be, but we're always going to have a level of vulnerability because we are one of the greatest nations in the world, and we should be careful with that. And if we truly did not forget what happened on 9/11, then maybe this government would make different decisions as to how they go about their day-to-day actions, both home and abroad. Final thought.
Yeah. Real quick, I loved teaching cause and effect. So yes, as a history teacher, I love teaching 3 basic components in history that I think is critical for any subject matter, regardless of it being social studies or not. One is just simply cause and effect. So when I was teaching students, this is even my 7th graders way back, they were like, 9/11, how did this even happen? And they had no idea that the United States trained Osama bin Laden. Like, that was like, holy crap, like, what? Like, that was news to them, to their parents, to everybody else. And I was like, yes, like, this was our attempt back in the 1980s of training Afghans to thwart Soviet presence. So that cause and effect is something that they really, really took and then said, okay, let's work backwards. this happened. Where are the other circumstances that this has happened? And then what has occurred as a result? So we could point to El Salvador, Chile. I lived in Chile. So my parents were, my host parents were Pinochetistas. They were supporters and asked a lot of questions and listened. And they were extreme supporters because they were like, well, those socialists deserve to die and we have a better economy. I'm like, holy shit. So the second, I think, is critical is perspective. We look at things from the United States perspective. Start thinking about what the perspective is of the Middle East, of Europe, of Venezuelans. Ask good questions, trying to understand their perspective before jumping into conclusions. But I think the third component is being extremely critical of the news in the United States. Mm-hmm. So my students read a lot of books that were, I think, exposing how deeply censored our news is and how deeply skewed our news is. And part of that exercise was like, go look at news somewhere else. So that goes back to number 2. Some of this was learning the strategies and tricks of our United States media system to then understand, okay, well, this is their perspective. This is how they're going to lean towards it. This is why they're saying it. Who owns that company? What do they have to earn from it? Who's pulling those strings behind it? And, you know, right now it's crazy because like, shit, man, like news is going to be owned by like 2 people pretty soon. Like Jeff Bezos and whoever just bought CBS. Whoever those billionaires
Barry White. Oh no, that was an African-American artist. Barry Weiss. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Weiss. W-E-I-S-S.
I don't think Barry owns it. Yeah, she's the head.
Barry
now, right?
is in charge of the news.
Yeah, she's the head now.
The billionaire who bought it gave it to Barry for her to run. So those are kind of 3 things that I'd love. I think any of us to do, not just in schools, but I think as human beings, is like, what is the cause and effect? What is the perspective? And then ultimately picking apart news, critical thinking, and understanding who's pulling the strings behind that.
I agree. And I did have my final thought, but there was a new question there, David. So I want to, because you said, what should educators do? I think we need to get scholars back into education. And I mean, and I think your head of your history department needs to be a history junkie.
Yes.
Because in this world, the best way to still predict the future is by understanding the past. And that's why every time we have these conversations about Trump, I am like, yeah, Trump is wild and he's not the first and he won't be the last. This thing that's happened over there, this is not the first and it won't be the last, but we're reacting to it as if it is. And it's a signal to those in charge that these people, we can do whatever we need to do and clear it up because they don't know. That's why, and never forget, we use it in 9/11, but that's Holocaust, baby. We never forget. Like we will never, ever forget. We never let anybody forget. Because let me also say this for the people that's listening. I don't think people get this perspective. If my family was enslaved, if I was a slave, and then because you wanted oil, you came in and stole oil, but you killed my slave master, and I can take all this over now, or I can be free of that person. I don't give a fuck why you did it. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we gotta understand. And that, like, so I get nervous. Like I love what Jubilee said, but I love it because she said it, and because I know Jubilee and I know her heart. But I am nervous anytime I hear that a teacher is going to attempt to teach morality, because I live in Illinois, where outside of Chicago, it is not very liberal. I lived in Kentucky, where Kentucky is, so now it's whose morality? And a lot of people don't live in truly purple places, right? Where you in the same school building and you got these strong things. So stick to the facts, stick to the things that people need to know. Mm-hmm. And I think that is where we have to start. We're trying to get fancy and do dunks before we can make wide open layups. And I think it's showing.
Boom.
That's a good ass metaphor.
That is a great metaphor. Wow.
Charles,
and I'm not going to attempt to follow up or lay up on your metaphor.
I said you gotta
take us home, David.
You got to say hi to mommy. She popped
Oh,
in.
hey, I see her. You know, she said hi to me. Happy New Year's, Mama Jube. You know, and
Happy New Year.
go ahead and
We
you can
love
tell
you,
them
Mama
all
Jube.
I'm your favorite. We know it's okay. You know, I love Jube's mama. Don't ever leave, because if you leave, Jube got to go with you.
Wow.
Random.
We love Jubilee.
All right. I don't have much more to add. I mean, I think today was a good. Well, first off, welcome back, everybody. It's good to see our people back in the chat and the three of you back.
love
Again, like, you know, from time to time, like, we're not going to shy away from these big topics that are happening kind of right in front of our faces. We'll dive in. Sometimes it'll be messy, and we'll always try and connect it to the things that we really care about, you know, education, young people. So I appreciate you all diving into this topic today. We'll be back next week and ongoing. And the one plug I wanted to make, referencing the beginning of the show, where you were all talking about movies and things that you watched over the break. I did get to see the new Dave Chappelle special.
Yeah, me too.
And so I'm just going to make a plug
Super
for
good.
everyone. If you haven't seen it,
Please.
you go and watch The Unstoppable.
Yes.
Like
That.
soon. Yeah. That was incredible. I mean, like,
watch it again.
the way that he just like encapsulated everything that's happening in the world right now. And also like his like affinity and his love for like Black people as a Black man. And it's like unforgiving. And I love that. I really love that about him. He's so genuine in that way. So that was a good one. That's what we watched over the break.
Yeah, I might watch it again tonight.
Well,
Actually.
bravo. What a way to end the damn show, David. I love that, man. Well,
Hi, people.
all right. You want to take us out, or you want me to do it? I got you. So whatever
You can take
want.
us out. Yeah, take
All
us
right,
out.
man. Well, that's David.
Ooh, lazy.
But also, just David put together an incredible show.
That was good. Good ass show,
David,
David.
good show. But that's David, that's Jube, that's Omar, and I am Charles, and we will see you all next week, same bat time, same bat station. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Y'all have a good one. Happy New Year and God bless. Peace.
Woo!